Hello everyone, this is Nicole. Thank you so much for joining me in my video tutorial for today. In today's video, I'm going to focus on two different stem sets from Altenew's August 2019 release. And these are called Antique Roses and Dot Art stem sets. We're going to create two different cards incorporating those stems from today's video. I'm going to start with Antique Roses stem set first. This has to be one of my favorite stem set from this release because this coordinates really well with the well-loved Vintage Roses stem set from Altenew, and it's one of my all-time favorite stem set where you can create a very realistic in-depth roses. So you can definitely mix and match images from this one and from the Vintage Roses stem set to create a really never-ending possibilities of floral arrangements. So I'm going to choose one of the petals from the set, one of the flowers from the set, more likely, and I'm going to layer the images up together. For this particular one, I am using Lapis Lazuli ink pads from Altenew, and I started with Iceberg for the first image, Eastern Sky for the second image, Ultramarine for the third image, and Azurite for the fourth image. And this particular stem set has 5 layers for each of the flowers. And the last part is actually the center of each roses. So you are going to do some darkest coloring on that one. And over here, I added a black one to go on top of the roses. For the leaves, I'm using Greenfield's ink pads. Starting the solid images for 2 different types of leaves I am using for today's card, and this one is stamped with frayed leaf. The second images for each leaf images are stamped with forest glades, and then the third one is stamped with evergreen. So when I stamped the evergreen, I kind of changed up the way that they line up compared to what's shown in the layering guide, so you can have a little bit of forgiving as effect on those third layers for the leaves. So it's completely up to you how you want to stamp them. If you want to get a closer look at how I stamp these, check out Altenew's Antique Roses product page, and there are 2 videos. One is a product video and the other one is a layering guide video where I walk you through each images one by one, how to layer them up easily. So hopefully that will be helpful when you're working on these on your own. Once the images that I stamped are all cut using the coordinating dice set, I'm going to go ahead and start working on my front card panel before I put all the cards together. And this stamp set is called Dot Art and has really fun backgrounds and some focal point images that you can use. So I am using a couple of gray colors from Gentleman's Gray ink pad, and I am using Cloudy Night and a Silver Lake, and adding a very random spots throughout the very random patterns throughout the parts of the card front that you can see here. I just wanted to add some interest on the background. It's going to be covered mostly by the stamped roses that we worked on earlier, but this will give a subtle background. On top of the stamped gray backgrounds, I'm using a metallic silver watercolor brush markers from the Winter Wonderland watercolor brush markers set from Altenew and added a bit of splash. Now we're going to put all the cutout images together to complete the card. I am adding 2 layers of foam tapes on the back of the rose. That's going to be one of the things that are popping out the most. And I'm going to add 1 foam dot each on back of each leaf that we stamped out, and going to pop them behind the roses. So with the contrast of the grays and blues and green, this card really focuses on the various effects and the layers of this Antique Roses. I thought this card came really well together without much of a hassle. I added a stamp set, sentiment set from the Dot Art set and stamped it in jet black. And to add a couple of finishing touches, I am using 6mm clear cup sequins along with 4mm clear drops from Pretty Pink Posh. And I love to add odd numbers of these finishing touches. So you're going to add just 3 to 5 or 7. You can add definitely more if you like, but I tend to stay within 3 to 5 number ranges of these little embellishments in total, whether you overlap them or whether you add them individually. So once that is all done, I'm going to add some adhesive on the back of the card using the glue tape from Altenew, and I'm going to adhere that onto my card base. And the card base is using the Nina Solar White 110 pound, folded at 5.5. This is actually a top folding card. So this is 4.25 by 11, scored it in half to create a top folding A2 size card. And that finishes the first card of today's video tutorial. Let's move on to the second card, and this is rather simple as well. I am using some masking tape or painter's tape. I'm going to surround the masking tape all around the edges of this card panel. So I'm getting in about 1/2 inch from each side on each end of the edges of the card front over here. And I'm going to create a window where I'm going to blend the ink. So I have some ink blending tools, and I'm going to use the same blue color family that I used in the first project for today's video. So I'm starting with Iceberg, and I'm going to blend that in starting from the top. And as we go towards the bottom, I'm going to add in darker colors. This is just to create a window where we are going to stamp in some focal points. So Iceberg is all done. Now we are going to move on to the second color, which is Eastern Sky. I ended up using only 3 colors from Lapis Lazuli mini cube set for this technique. If you wanted a little bit more variant, you can definitely use the 4th color and add a bit more difference in between the colors for the window. But I thought that the 3 color combinations for this type of technique that I'm trying to do was sufficient enough for this project. So for the last darkest color I'm using on this ink blending technique is Ultramarine, which is a really dark blue bright color that I really love. So this creates a nice window, and you can pretty much do this with any color combinations that you have. You can do this with pink, you could do this with oranges or yellows or even with reds. Once I am all done with ink blending, I'm going to lift up the painter's tape, and that creates a nice background window for our focal points. That art stencil has 2 different flower arrangements or floral images created in dots, and this is a really fun way to dress up your card. So I'm going to simply take one of the dot floral images made from for this stem set and ink it up with jet black ink and stamped it onto that window area. Now I'm taking Azurite ink pad, which is the darkest color from Lapis Lazuli, and took out a Hello sentiment from the same stem set. I'm going to add simply the sentiment panel using a foam dot behind it. I'm going to cut out the excess strip, and that creates a really clean finish to the card. Let's just add a couple more finishing touches using the same sequins and clear drops that we used on the first project. So I'm just going to add maybe 3 different total of sequence arrangements and drops arrangements. This is just going to add some highlight without distracting the stamped in the window area too much. And I am using multi-medium matte as an adhesive because this dries really clear and I love it. So you can be a little messy when you are adding them onto your card, but that dries really clear so you won't even notice later on when it dries. So when it's all done, I'm going to use glue tape again and adhere the panel onto the card base. Once again, I cut this to be a top folding A2 size card. And that finishes 2 projects for today's video. I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions, let me know and feel free to comment below. If you enjoyed today's tutorial, please give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to my channel, I hope you subscribe so you can get notifications when I have new videos to share with you. All the products that are used in today's video are listed in the description area below, or you can also head over to my blog at scrapsandstamps.com to see a full product list along with some fun giveaway opportunities. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you next time.